Alright guys, welcome back to another CC Outdoors video, and today we're going to be talking about late ice walleye fishing. You know, late ice, especially here in Minnesota, can be super tough to find the walleyes, and this year has been nothing short of that, but I finally have found them, and when you do find them, they're really congregated, and you can usually have 5-10 fish days pretty easily, or like just fishing in the afternoon. And yeah, so I'm just going to be giving you guys a few tips on doing that. The spots that I am typically looking for. But yeah, anyway, so what I'm kind of going to do is throw up some pictures on the screen of spots I'm fishing or like to target, as well as lures I like to use. It kind of goes in a couple different mindsets when I go out walleye fishing. And so if I'm going to set up on an all-day spot where I'm getting out there at, let's say 6 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever, hitting that initial morning primetime bite, and then I'm fishing through the day. You know, Minnesota, that can be super tough to find a day bite for walleyes. So when I'm doing that, I'm going to find a spot. I'll throw one up on the screen. So what I'm looking for when I'm doing that all-day sit, from morning to evening bite, I'm going to be finding a steep break, maybe a saddle, something of that sort, that goes quick to a basin. And so when I'm doing this all day sit, I'm sitting in the basin just right on the edge of where it starts to break. If you can find a spot where you drill 2 holes side by side and there's like a foot difference kind of right at that break line, that's what you're going to want to be targeting, because those walleyes they're going up on that shelf in the morning, coming back down, and then they're going back up on that shelf in the evening. And so if you're sitting right on that break line, that's kind of their main highway that they're going to run along to find that spot. Otherwise, if you're going to be doing either an only morning or only evening sit, I would go target those same areas, or maybe even a rocky point, and set up shallower. Instead of being in that like 26 to 30-ish range, oh, there's a fish, I am going to want to be in like that 22 to 24. Yeah, so that's kind of, I'm just hitting that primetime bite where I'm only going to be out for an hour, 2-3 hours, just short periods of time. I'm going to want to set up on higher percentage areas just for the primetime bite. If I'm going to set up for an evening sit where I'm going out there at, let's say 3, and I'm going to sit till 11 or midnight, I'm going to sit up on top of that shelf. And so what it really comes down to is how long you're going to fish and the time period you're going to fish. That same piece of structure is going to hold fish all day long. And so it's all about where you set up on it. And so if you're going to be fishing more in the dark, that's when you're going to want to be shallow, you know, that 16 to 20-ish, just depending water clarity. That's another huge factor here. But yeah, so what it comes down to is the time, and that's really going to depend where you sit. But in all 3 instances, late ice, saddles can be really good. Another thing is if you can find a spot out in the middle of the lake, let's say it's all 40-foot, 50-foot basin around you, and you can find a small piece of structure, maybe a 20 by 20 area that goes up to like 30 feet. I'm going to set up right on top of that, and if I'm fishing in the daytime, I'm going to set a tip up maybe right on the edge in like that 31, 32, right where it starts to break off, because you will get walleyes all day there. And late ice, it's kind of just the key to go deeper water. Especially this year, we've got so much snow on the ice that the oxygen up shallow is depleted, and these fish are going deep to look for oxygen. And yeah, that's kind of my spots. And so the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about is lures. So what it comes down to is how aggressive these fish are and how aggressive you want to fish. Now, if I'm sitting like I would be doing right here, sitting in the ice castle, I'm going to have a dead stick down, maybe a little tungsten jig, or just a plain hook and a fathead. And I'm pretty much going to let that sit and just wait for that rod tip to bend. I try not to even jig it, just because walleyes don't seem to be too eager to chase right now. And for my jig, I'm going to be using either a little, like a smaller tungsten jig with a fathead, doing the same, pretty much the same thing as my dead stick, but this one I'm jigging. Otherwise, I'll go with a small flutter spoon, just, you know, inch and a half long, something super light, super easy for them. And you know, if they are super aggressive, you can upsize that flutter spoon, like a bigger tingler spoon or a tumbler spoon. I like when I'm fishing the flutter spoons. Otherwise, if they aren't in a super aggressive mood, I do really like the Eurotackle T-Flash, just because it doesn't have that side-to-side movement. It's more of an up and down, and that really seems to make them bite when they're more finicky. And then if I'm going to go out and start hole hopping, where I'm drilling 20 holes and I'm fishing that primetime bite, I'm going to set up an iFish Pro or tip up, whatever, with that same setup, probably a plain hook and a little fat head. And then I'm going to run around with a little rattle bait, like the Eurotackle Z-Vibe, fish that right at that sunset bite. And if they aren't biting that, then I'm going to switch over to a flutter spoon, still a little bit more aggressive. And you're going to want to be aggressive when you're hole hopping, just because you can move. If the fish you are on aren't active, you can just jump to the next hole. And so that's why I like to get more aggressive when I hole hop, or more finesse when I sit still. And yeah, what it comes down to for me late ice is pretty much flutter spoons, tungsten jigs, and rattle baits. If you guys like this video, make sure you please leave a like and subscribe, as there will be more content like this coming your way. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day.